Do we really care that the Wirtz penalty was soft? I think we can all agree that we absolutely do not, guys. It finally feels like we got a bit of luck on our side during this tough period we have been going through. And honestly, it is not like we did not deserve the win against Inter Milan. The second half felt close to total domination from us, and that happened because of one simple change Arne Slot made during the break. That little adjustment completely shifted the rhythm of the game. So guys, if you want to understand this formation that Arne Slot might use in case Mo Salah is no longer with us, or if you want to know why our second half looks so calm compared to the stressful first period, then make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Alright, let us jump straight into it. Life without Salah, right guys? The idea already felt real the moment we saw the starting 11. It almost told the story before the match even began. Alisson stayed in goal, while Andrew Robertson, Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate and Joe Gomez formed the backline. Moving higher up the pitch, it was not our usual midfield trio. Instead, we had Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis Mac Allister, Dominic Szoboszlai, and a fourth midfielder in Curtis Jones, which already hinted at something different. Then, in the attack, we had Hugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak leading the front line, a pairing that instantly made you curious about how Slot wanted this team to move. Now it was pretty obvious that Slot was not going to put Zobo on the right wing and Hugo on the left. That never really felt like the plan. Instead, a 4-4-2 diamond shape made a lot more sense, with Szoboszlai working as the right midfielder, Jones on the left, and Mac Allister playing just behind the two strikers. The moment you looked at the layout, it felt like the most logical way to use the players we had. So how did this shape actually look when we had the ball? Let us walk through it. Most of the time we tried to start our deep build-up with 3 players at the back. Sometimes Alisson stepped up almost like a centre-back, and other times one of the midfielders, usually Gravenberch or Curtis Jones, dropped into the backline to pick up the ball. The fullbacks played high and wide, even if Robertson looked a bit deeper in this frame. It made sense because we had no natural wingers to stretch the pitch, but there was another reason for this setup, especially during the first period. Notice how narrow and close our midfielders were in the middle of the pitch. The goal here was to overload the central areas, not to play through them from deep, but to pull Inter players inside and force them to commit. When that happened, Konate gained extra time and space to receive the ball and hit those long passes he is so good at. We already talked before about how Konate needs these exact conditions, where he is positioned a bit wider with more room around him, so he can confidently play his long balls and diagonals. That is exactly what we saw in the first half of this match. Now, do not get us wrong, Konate's passing was not perfect. There was one diagonal ball that he completely misplaced, but compared to his passing in the league recently, this was a day and night difference. It all comes down to a Slot putting him in that wider area where he is most comfortable playing from. When he has space to look up and pick a target, he suddenly becomes a very useful passer. And really, our most dangerous chance of the first half came from exactly that. Let us show you how it happened. Here, you can see us trying to build out with 3 at the back again. This time, Jones drops into a position that is almost like a left back or even a left centre back. In this moment, a pass to Konate, even though he was positioned wide, was simply not possible. You can see how Inter were matching Gravenberch and Zobo, with Thuram ready to press Van Dijk the second he received the ball. At the same time, they had another player close to Ibu and ready to jump on him if the pass was made. So what was the solution here? Watch how Mac Allister drops deep into our own half. The moment Martinez sees Alexis moving toward the ball, he stops worrying about Konate and tries to block the central passing lane instead. That small reaction creates more space and time for Konate to finally receive the ball. With Lautaro no longer able to close him down down fast enough, the long ball toward Hugo becomes possible. This also comes from the counter movement between Zobo and our French forward. Their timing allowed Hugo to stay isolated in a 1-against-1 situation, and from there he could drive the ball into the box and create danger. Now, the first half was not the greatest to watch. We only created that one big chance and had two strong shots from outside the box through Gravenberch and Jones. And while it is true that Inter Milan did not threaten us too much, they still finished the first period strongly and started to put some pressure on us. You could feel the momentum shifting a little by the end of the half. This happened mainly because of the way we defended. Most of the time, we tried to stop Inter from progressing by sitting in a 4-3-3 mid-block, with McAllister acting almost like the striker in between Hugo and Isak. Behind them, Jones and Zobo were man-marking the Inter midfielders, while Gravenberch stayed deeper to protect the central zone. Even our backline was marking Inter players closely, almost in a man-to-man style, which is actually different from the +1 that Slot usually prefers. The issue here was that Inter were able to circulate the ball comfortably because we were not putting enough pressure on the ball carrier. Their midfielders moved constantly, and this caused our own players to mix up their roles. You can see moments where Szoboszlai ends up pressing first, even though that should not be his responsibility. Once Inter invited us into their half and we tried to trigger our high press, the distances between our lines grew too big. The gaps became too wide for our players to cover, and the whole structure stretched out, which led to sequences like the one you saw. From there, Inter could play long balls toward their strikers and combine quickly around our box. It never turned into huge danger, but it was enough to show the weakness in our setup. The second half, however, was completely different. The shift was obvious, especially when you notice that we had 55% possession after only having 45% in the first period. And the change itself was actually very simple. Not only did we raise the intensity and put more pressure on the ball to push Inter back, but we also began pressing in a full man-to-man style across the entire pitch. This happened in every kind of situation, whether it came from a goal kick or from open play. You can see here how we matched Inter players everywhere, even high up in their own half. From that point on, we put constant pressure on the ball, which forced them to play long far more often than they did in the first period. And once they went long, we were able to win more duels and bring the ball back under our control. So why did Slot not start the match this way? The explanation is actually simple. It comes down to managing the physical load on the players. If we went full intensity and full man-to-man pressing from the very first minute, the players would have been drained far too early. It is better to risk losing a bit of control over one half than risk exhausting the entire squad, especially during a very busy run of games. Slot had to choose the moment to increase the tempo, and the second half became the right time for it. Now, of course, this was not a perfect performance. We still struggled to create clear chances from open play, and that is something we hope will improve soon. But the shift in energy and structure made a huge difference, and it showed what this team can look like when everything clicks. So guys, that is pretty much it for today. It was a game with some worrying moments, but also a lot of positives that we can take moving forward. Hopefully we keep improving, and hopefully the results keep coming our way. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, because it really helps the channel grow. And of course, let us know in the comments what you think about this new shape and how you feel about the team right now. We always enjoy reading your thoughts.